One of the hardest and most confusing things, for me, about international travel, was not the language, not the difference in dinner times, or even, how much to tip. It was the electrical outlets. Electronics are just as indispensable to me, as my passport for international travel. And I didn't understand the difference between a travel adapter and a converter. I was genuinely confused by the different voltages around the world. If you are anything like me, then the alphabet soup of connector types gives you a headache. Type A plugs, Type C plugs, micro USB, USB-A, USB-C. It was all so much to keep straight and pack. For years, I traveled with a spaghetti of cords, one for every device, and sometimes backup cables too. Plus, hotels, Airbnbs, and hostels never have enough outlets. I'll explain the basics of travel adapters, converters, and show my streamlined setup to make charging all your electronics on your next international trip perfectly simple. An outlet is a socket to connect electrical devices to a power source. There are about 20 types of outlets, commonly used around the world. A plug is an insulated casing, with metal pins, that fits into the holes of an outlet, to deliver power to your electronics. There are 14 types of outlets, with alphabetic designations of Type A, Type B, Type C, all the way to Type N. I put a link in the description, to where you can look up the outlet types for each country you are visiting. A travel adapter is a device that you can attach to a plug type from your home country, to the plug type that works with outlets in the country you are visiting. I am from the US, so my electronics have Type A, or Type B plugs. The difference between Type A and Type B is that Type B has a third prong at the bottom for grounded outlets. Grounding is a safety feature built into some outlets, where in case of an overload or a power surge, the charge is redirected harmlessly away into itself, or to ground, to avoid damaging other wires or the outlet. Voltage is a measure of how much electricity is flowing to a device from an outlet. There are different voltages in use around the world. The standard United States voltage is around 120 volts. In France, the standard voltage is around 230, so the outlets in France push almost double the electricity of an outlet in the US. Most modern devices like cell phones, tablets, and laptops are engineered and manufactured to be able to work with the different voltages around the world. If you look at the brick that came with your laptop, it will likely show a range of voltages it can work with from 100 volts to 240 volts. Simpler electronic devices like hair dryers, shavers, and hair straighteners only work with the voltage from the country that the device was manufactured for. If you are from the US, there is a good chance that your hair straightener requires 120 volts to work. If you want to use your US hair straightener in France, for example, you need more than just an adapter. You will also need a power converter to step the voltage down to the 120 volts that your US hair straightener can handle. You can buy a combination unit of travel adapters and a power converter. This unit can supply up to 230 watts of power. It can handle input voltage from 100 volts to 240 volts. The USB outlets can deliver up to 6.2 amps of current across all 4 USB ports. Let's look inside. You have a bag that you can use to store all the parts and pieces. These 3 pieces, plugged into each other, are the travel adapters. This is the adapter for Type I outlets. It looks similar to a Type A, US plug. However, the prongs are tilted at an angle rather than straight. Type I is mainly used in Australia, New Zealand, Papua New Guinea, China, and Argentina. The second adapter is a Type A adapter, for US outlets. The third adapter is a Type G adapter, for UK outlets with 3 prongs. If you were wondering where the Type C adapter was for European outlets, Septix made that the converter's built-in plug. I like that they used a standard C5 power inlet. I have lots of spare cables, with a Type B plug, that I can swap in, if I decide to use this in the US, without having to use the US adapter. As far as outlets, the unit has 2 full sockets. The blue USB port supports Quick Charge 3.0, while the other 3 white ports are limited to 2.4 amps per port, up to a maximum total of 6.2 amps across all 4 ports. There is a cooling fan, to stop the unit from overheating. The specs of the unit are also written on the bottom. There is no need to travel with the spec sheet. There is a picture of a flat iron and curling iron, on the front. This is to note that most flat irons and curling irons will work with this travel converter as long as they consume under 230 watts. To find how much wattage your hair appliance uses, look on the appliance itself, or visit the manufacturer's site or retailer's website that you bought it from. Let's set up the travel converter and plug it in. Because I am testing the converter in the US, I will add the Type A travel adapter to be able to plug it into a Type A, US outlet. Just to show you what it looks like, here it is with the Type G adapter added for UK outlets. Here it is with the Type I adapter added for Australia, China and several other countries. Now I have it all set up to show you how it works. I hit the power button to turn the unit on. All the circuitry inside that will step down voltage as needed to 120 volts is active. This unit along with 2 combination charging cables, is all I need, for most trips. The first combination cable I use is from USAMS. It is a USB-C power delivery cable. It also transfers data at a speed of 480 megabits per second. From the picture on the front, you can see it has 2 input types and 3 outputs. The 3 output types are Lightning, Micro USB and USB-C. This picture on the back shows how the extra adapters hang off to the side when they're not in use. Let's take out the actual cable. The cable is 4 feet long, which is 1.2 meters. The covering is a sturdy feeling braided nylon. It doesn't take up much more space than the 3-foot Lightning cable that came with my iPhone. Plus the Velcro wrap helps you keep the cord wrapped neatly. Now, to take a closer look at the 3 outputs. USB-C is the inbuilt into the cable. The USB-C to Lightning adapter is hooked on at the top of the cord. The USB-C to micro USB adapter is connected below. Each of the adapters requires the USB-C in to attach. I prefer USB-C as the base, because you don't have to worry about which way you attach the adapter. If I had a cable with a micro USB base, I would have to make sure to line it up correctly. Here is what it looks like with the micro USB adapter attached. It makes a very secure and stiff connection. I don't have any worries about it coming apart. Here is what it looks like with the Lightning cable attached. Also a very secure feeling connection. Let's see how well the plugs fit. This Motorola Android phone has a USB-C port for charging. It has a snug secure feeling fit. This iPad Air has a Lightning port. Once again, the adapter has a secure and snug fit. When I travel, I take a dedicated camera. I have had this Sony a5000 for 5 years. It is still going strong. This Sony mirrorless camera has a micro USB port. I'll place the micro USB adapter over the USB-C end. It plugs into the side here. Another well-fitting connection. The other end of the cable has two input types to draw power in. In addition to checking that the plugs fit securely, you should also test that the cable is delivering power, and your devices get charged. Here, I am cycling through the adapters and my electronics to make sure they all work together. This is also a test that the USB plugs on the side of the converter are working. I am making sure that the charging light comes on. I also test that the outlets on the face of the converter are working. I am showing a 5-watt adapter in this video, but I recommend using a 20-watt adapter for faster charging. For iPhone 12 or newer models, 20 watts is the minimum power output required to charge. When I take my laptop, I also take this 87-watt power adapter. It comes with its own USB-C to USB-C cable. I'll link this model in the description below. Although I have used the cable with this charger for short periods of time, I don't recommend using it with this 87-watt charger. The USAM's cable is only rated for up to 60 watts of power. As great as the first cable is, I like to take at least 2 cables with me in case something breaks on one. This is a 2-pack of the USAM's 4-in-1 cable. The same vendor makes both cable types. Let's open this plastic pouch up. Here are the 2 cables. They are each 4 feet long. This design is a bit bulkier than the other cable. That's because, instead of just adapter heads, this cable has about a foot of individual cable for each type of plug. Sometimes, you don't feel like snapping adapters on and off. That's why this second cable is nice. It has 4 separate heads, all ready to use. When I lay this out on the nightstand, I know this one cable has every type of connector I might need. I just pick the right head, and plug it into whatever I want to charge. In this case, the heads are micro USB, 2 Lightning, and 1 USB-C. The input end is USB-A. I'll test each end to make sure it fits well and charges my electronics. This Motorola Android phone uses USB-C to charge. Let's check out how the cable charges. I'll cycle through the rest of my electronics. checking that the green light comes on. Let's wrap everything up, so you can see how I pack it up. There you have it. A simple and streamlined travel converter and adapter setup. Use these tips to build your charging kit, so that you pack for your next trip with confidence and ease.